Hello, my fellow property managers. Welcome to another video where we help you build, grow, and protect your property management company. I'm Mark Cunningham, and I want to talk to you for a few minutes about this idea of when it comes lease renewal time. How do you decide the new rental rate? I mean, what do? You have so many factors in play, and you don't want to lose a good tenant, and inflation's going up, and rents are going up, and the owner doesn't want the tenant to move, and the tenant doesn't want it. How do we do that? So let me just offer a few thoughts, suggestions to kind of take away some of the emotion from the whole thing with so many moving parts and approach it from a truly business mindset, and then explain that to your tenant, explain that to your owner, some best practices around how to determine how much of a rent increase is to put in place. Now, we're coming out of COVID, and I'm recording this video here in July 2022, and a lot of this is an extra big deal because a lot of property managers didn't raise rent last year, or maybe even the year before that, or they just had small increases because there was COVID and we didn't want tenants to move, and we let some people go month to month, or it's just a weird time. It's just a weird time. So, best practice number one. This may be, my friends, the most profound thing you have ever heard from me. So wake up, gather your friends around. First of all, before I read this to you, do you know what this math symbol right there? Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you zoom in on that maybe a little bit? Greater than or equal to. Do you remember that back in your 7th grade math? Greater than or equal to sign. Well, what this says is the rent increase must be greater than or equal to ownership inflation. The rent increase must be greater than or equal to ownership inflation. Now, Mark, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. If the ownership inflation is 10%, meaning the costs of owning that property over the last 12 months have increased 10%. You say, well, how do costs increase by owning it? Well, how much did your insurance go up this last year? I mean, your owner's insurance. How much did the property insurance go up? How much did the homeowner association bill go up? How much did repairs go up? How much did your property taxes go up? See, all the focus for the last 2 years has been on rent inflation. Oh, rents are going up so fast. Tenants, and it's true, rents are going up fast. But going up even faster, I believe, is ownership inflation. Property taxes are going up like crazy. Property insurance rates are going up like crazy. Repair bills. Have you sent out a plumber to one of your properties lately? Oh my gosh. Those things aren't just going up 4, 5, 6%. Those things are going up 20, 30, 40% from where they were at just a couple years ago. So what this tells us is, from a business standpoint, the amount of the rent increase, the percentage of the rent increase must be greater than or equal to the percentage of the ownership cost increase. And if it's not, guess what? You just went backwards. Your owner is losing money as compared to the prior year. So keep this in mind. Don't so focus on the rent percentage increase. What's your ownership inflation increase? Because if the owner inflation increase goes up by 20%, that's a bad thing. That means a rent increase has to go up by 20% just to keep even with the additional expenses we're paying on the property. I hope you can kind of gauge that a little bit. So with this in mind, there's another important component, kind of rule number 2 for us, at least, is this. And that is we want the increases, the rent increases, to be percentage based, not dollar based. This is how we're going to think about them. We're not going to think about, well, do we do $25 or $50 or $75? I understand that thinking, but initially we're going to approach it as a percentage based increase. Why? Because that's the more proper business way to do things. So instead of thinking, oh, let's take everybody $25. No. We're going to take everybody 5% or 3%. Now that may equate to $25 for somebody, may equate to $35 for somebody else, but just get in the habit from a business mindset of thinking in terms of percentage increases, not dollar increases. Okay, so with those 2 factors in mind, how do we go about this process? It's lease renewal season, and a tenant's lease is up for renewal, and you have to determine how much you're going to increase your rent. Well, with those 2 things in mind, here's a couple options and suggestions for you. Number 1 is you could do a full new market analysis on the property. A lot of PM companies do that, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to pull a bunch of new comps. You're going to maybe pull your rental analysis from all the online sites you use and say, hey, if this property turned over, here's how much we would re-rent it for, and then based upon that, we're going to offer the renewal rate at that same amount, or maybe just a little bit less than that. Totally fine way to do that. Another option from a bigger perspective is if you're dealing with all sorts of properties, you say, I can't go out and do full new market analysis on all these homes that we're doing renewals on. It would be too time consuming, it'd be too difficult. A new market analysis on every single one. That's, if you're one of those people that takes like 2 hours on an analysis, then you can't do that on a lot of properties. So here's another option. Option number 2 would be to determine your local market baseline rent increase percentage and start from there. So you can look up online, no matter where you are geographically, you can look up to determine, hey, in our market, over the last 12 months, the average rental rate increased by 9%, let's say. And that's data that's available online anywhere. You can find that for your submarket. Determine how much your submarket increased on average over the last 12 months, and then that becomes your baseline. That becomes your baseline. So if all your rents in your submarket increased on average 9% over the last year, 9% is your baseline increase as you look at your properties to renew. It's just a quicker, faster way to do renewals. So you say, okay, you know what? 9% is our baseline increase. So this property was running for $1,000 a month. That means it's going to go up 9%. It's going to go up $90. That's the baseline. That's step 1. Now step 2 is we're going to adjust that amount or just that percentage increase based on some tenant factors. Okay, so we just had $1,000 rent. 9% is the baseline average. That would take us to $1,090. But now we're going to play with that $90 a little bit based upon what? Based upon some specifics about the tenant and about the properties. Maybe we go up, maybe we go down based upon a couple specific factors. Now, before I tell you these couple specific factors, I want to thank the sponsor for this video here, Pest Share. Are you familiar with Pest Share? What a unique, cool company. I love their tagline, pest control that pays you as the property manager. If you're not familiar with these guys, what I want you to do is go to their website. Jump on their website, pestshare.com, watch their little video, sign up for a demo, find out about them. Because what they do is this becomes one of your your resident benefits that you add on to your package. Tenant pays a small fee every month, and then you're able to provide pest control services to all your tenants as an offering to them. Benefit your owners, benefit your tenants, makes you a little bit of money in the process. What a unique thing. Even if you aren't interested, go on their website because it's fascinating and you need to know what's going on in the industry. Pest Share is a big deal in our industry. So learn about that. Reach out, tell them that Mark sent you. Okay, so where were we? Where were we here? We're talking about adjusting the percentage increase based upon a couple specific tenant factors. Some of those factors may include things like this: the length of tenancy. Okay, how long has the tenant been in place? You say, gosh, this tenant's been here for 10 years and I love them. They've been here for 10 years, so I don't want to give them a huge, big increase. Or maybe you say, gosh, they've been here for 10 years and I haven't given them an increase in 10 years. Oh, maybe we better jump that higher, but that's something to pay attention to, length of tenancy. Number 2, the time since the last rent increase. Did they just get a significant rent increase last year, like a big one? Well, maybe you want to take that into account. Maybe it's been 2 years since you increased their rent. But pay attention to the time since the last increase. Number 3 is just the overall quality of the tenant. Is this somebody who you would hate to lose because they're just fabulous? They take great care of the property. They always pay on time. They're the nicest people in the world. Or is it one of those tenants who just kind of think, oh, they complain about the property all the time. They're never satisfied. They're always wanting things upgraded, even when they're not broken. And so maybe we're going to take that into consideration when we look at how much the rent increase should be. And then lastly, the owner's objective. Is your owner wanting to maximize rental rates? Is your owner terrified of losing somebody as a tenant, and so they want to keep that rent increase low? And by the way, if your owner is terrified of losing tenants over rent increases, as most owners are, that's where you explain to them the very first slide we talked about, which is that your rent increase must be greater than or equal to your ownership inflation. Explain that to your owners. It's natural for owners to get emotional and invested in this and scared of rent increases. This is where you need to come in as a professional. Explain what the rent increase is going to be. Explain why they need to do this and calm them down to let them know that, hey, the tenants aren't going to move over this. This is what you hire us for. We need to make business decisions. Now, if you want more information on how to explain this to the tenant, go onto our website, pmbuild.com. Go onto the video page. And in the video page, there's a whole bunch, 100 and I don't know how many videos. Check out video number 126, how to explain a rent increase to a tenant. That may help you when you determine the amount. Well, how do you explain that to the tenant without the tenant getting angry, without them getting mad? My friends, I hope that is helpful to you. If you want more information, jump on the website, pmbuild.com. Check out our video coaching. Check out our income stream training if you're trying to make more money in this business. But I wish you success. Until next time, my friends.